who wants a godly child. What are you producing tonight? What at the end of the day, what have you put together with that effort? Is that a churched child, or is that a godly child? I've got godly children. Some of them are not perfect. In fact, I have to be careful. I talk about my daughter more sometimes because she just loves the journey of ministry. But I got a son that when he takes that stubbornness and turns it upside down, he's probably going to blow me out of the water. We're doing something great. I believe that. I believe there's greatness in everybody. I think my mama at the minute of all of a sudden having to make a decision, she said, I'm going to give him a chance to be great. Might not always be on my watch, but at least I've got a mother that'll sit back and help me on this journey. And lo and behold, I stand for you right now. In Proverbs 17:6, it says, children are the crown of old men, and the glory of children is their father. In this verse, crown means something that brings you joy. There's that word. There's that word that all of a sudden, after a couple phone calls and business-like and dealing with finance and dealing with things, I text my daughter during school, gosh, I'm going to get her in trouble sometimes, Or I text Trevor in school and I say, boy, thinking about you and I love you so much. Can you feel it 300 miles away? Yeah, I can feel it. And even Trevor sometimes will say, Dad, I love it when you say it, but you know what? Sometimes they're going to catch me with a phone and I'm going to be in trouble. I said, just hand it to the teacher and I'll just dial it right in there and say, look, I just want to tell you what I do for a living, and I guarantee you don't get it. You never know when it might be your last chance to pour into your child. Got lots of things against what I do as far as my daddy being sick with something that's common in the family that just goes down. I've got things going on in my life that you never know when all of a sudden you're going to leave this earth, and what are you going to leave behind? See, when I leave here, I hope the pastor that altar becomes an all the time thing. I hope it just becomes something that's just a natural instinct to say, man, I got to deal with God today, so I'm going to the altar. And nobody's going to stop me. Not even Satan trying to tell me that everybody's going to think something, because who cares? We're all sitting here with boatloads of luggage, and we got to learn to let it go and give it to Jesus. It says right here that if you want children to make you proud, then strive to make them proud. Be good role models. We have to be the kind of examples God would have us to be. Our number one goal as a parent needs to be to live a Christ-like life and to love our children the way Heavenly Father loves you. Well, when you sit back thinking about hollering at that kid, or sitting back and coming unglued, or maybe that kid is challenging and you're going through things and you just can't quite figure that out. And I can't stand to hear a parent go, man, he's a lost cause, and golly, she's just, you're part of that lost cause. You created that lost cause. And if that person's a lost cause and you know that you've been part of that, you better sit back and you better get a game plan and seek the Holy Father so that He can put you on the right path, so that you can help put them on the right path. Don't think. Let me tell you something. I'm a children. When I left youth ministry and went into evangelism, I said, you know what, God, I'm fishing for mom and daddy. Seen thousands of kids get saved, but I also realized they were going back home to brokenness, and they were going back home to shatteredness. They were going back home to abuse and mouth. They were even going to that home of that church member that sits back and smiles big on church in church time and goes out and just lives like the world, like the devil during the week. That's going on big time. You go to the ball field. I guarantee you right now, I'm going to tell a story in a minute about the ball field, about how all of a sudden, and I love sports, and I'm a sports fanatic, but I'm going to tell you, when I see them screaming and cussing and carrying on at children and coming unglued, I'm going to tell you, don't live through your kids. Right. Coach them and love them, and I guarantee you be happy in what happens to them, because God's going to honor them in wins or losses. He's going to teach them. He's going to teach you. Ephesians 6, 1-4, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise. Listen up, kids. God is promising you something if you obey your parents. I tell them everywhere I go, they go, boy, Bart, you got to do what you want to. You got to sit back because of your circumstance and being by yourself in that government apartment from 12 years old to 18. Man, you had the run of the mill. No, I was lonely. I wanted to be spanked. I wanted direction. I wanted somebody to say, guess what? That's not good. Don't do that. And I promise you, I had the freedom, and I guarantee you, you think you want. That's why I spent so many years wearing myself out during football season and certain seasons in sports of coming home on Thursday and even riding 100, 200 miles to a ball team and coming back because they need to know God has an expectation of them. And that if their parents are not leading them and guiding them in the right direction, to find somebody to influence them in the right way because they want to be corrected. They want to be discipled and loved. I don't care what you say. If you reach and get into the depths of a child's heart, they want what's right. It's just the world's role modeling what's wrong, and the church ain't standing up and being accountable for it. Or all of a sudden they're going, them kids are, man, they're hellions. Let's get them out of here. And just all of a sudden you look at a kid and you all of a sudden categorize that kid, and all of a sudden that kid ain't perfect. And next thing you know, as a church, instead of undergrowth in that child and discipling that child, you let them go on off into the field. Whew. I went to church a few times in my life when I was a little kid at the government apartment with my grandmother. I got on a bus to go to the First Baptist Church because they said there was donuts there. I got excited. I never had Krispy Kreme donuts. So I would always go there, and I'd be the kid that got off the bus, and I would go there, and I would stack 2 or 3 donuts high with that cup of milk, and that lady would look at me, and she'd look at me, and she'd go, go on. I had that look, like, I'm on this government cheese and powdered milk, and I'm counting it down every day. I'm going to have me 4 donuts, you know what I'm saying? Nobody caught me there. Nobody seen or searched my condition, and I went home and I finally said, guess what? It ain't worth the donuts anymore. And I stopped going. I'm going to tell you something, church. You're planted on this hill for so many reasons right here on this road. There's thousands go by you. I've been coming here 10 years. I know I've passed by you 1,000 times. You're visible. You're iconic right here. But is your light shining? Is it saying, we love you, come here? Is it encouraging kids to sit back and say, hey, I could be anywhere else, but Wednesday night, something's going on good, and I want to be a part of it. What are you going to leave behind? Are you raising godly children, or are you raising church children? There's a big difference. You're going to learn that tonight. It says then that this may be well with you, and you may live long on the earth, with that verse. It says that, and you fathers do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord. Provoke means to infuriate. Let me tell you something. My daddy cussed me. He would come to a wrestling match just to cuss me and to belittle me. And it drove me, and I was a champion for 4 years. And I tell everybody all the time that the reason why, and I didn't preach champion this week, but I hate my trophies. All I wanted my daddy to do was love me and accept me. And I couldn't win enough. I couldn't do enough. I couldn't accomplish enough to get a hug or a kiss or bring him home with me for a few hours. I used to sneak over to my grandmother's house and he lived over a hill from me. And I would go over to the hill, and I got a stop sign that travels with me. And if I come back, I'll bring that stop sign and also a sign that says Vernon and Crawford. Because I held on that pole as a little boy on Vernon and Crawford behind the stop sign, and I would see my daddy go home. Get out of here. Your grandmother's going to be scared. Go home now. Not come up here, son. Not it's good to see you. Not how's your day going. Go home. Get away from me. So you see that challenge I had to love him? But yet God is so awesome. His love is so unbelievable. That's why he put me on this journey to challenge the church to say, guess what? Be all that you can be. And the most important thing is it needs to start in the house. If you catch that fever in the house and you do those great things in the home and you rear your kids to be godly children, then you get to come here and take that gift and put it on display. And it's going to be on display for the families going to come, the ones that are planning to come in, and the kids you've not seen yet. But your kids could play major influences to those children that need to be pointed in the right direction. See, I don't like bullying either. I don't like that meanness that goes on in the schools right now. I mean, it's bad. You don't realize what your kids are dealing with right now, and I see it. God doesn't want us to yell or ridicule our kids. We are to encourage our children. I remember walking to my son's 8-year-old baseball team, and I watched this deacon of a church on another ball team just slaying his child. And he was just all up in it, screaming, going nuts. And you know, when I walked up to him and put my arm around him, you thought he saw a ghost. And I said, "Hey, brother, how you doing?" He knows what I do. I know his child. He's played ball with my kid. And sometimes we got to be, as men, be bold enough, not in mean spirit, but to be that example. Because I guarantee you, every time I think for quite a while, when his mouth would open up at the ball field, he would go, "Is Bart around?" Because then, you know, I was a little more athletic and I had a little more intimidating look on me. Now that I'm getting older, I don't think I'm that intimidating no more. You know, give him a donut, he'll go away. Well, you know, probably true. It says right here that success is not defined by wins, money, or any kind of ladder you're trying to climb in the corporate world. Now hear me for a second on this part, okay? We're not going to be long tonight, but it's going to be intentional. You work hard day in, day out, and you provide those kids with things, and sometimes it's things that you know what is just too much, or you think that the more you give to them, the better you are as a parent. You think if all of a sudden you're giving them new cars and giving them money for date and all that stuff that you think makes you a great parent, if you're not pouring Jesus into them, if you're not giving them that guidance and understanding the importance, I mean, I've been doing a lot of studying. In fact, my newest study is I've been doing this thing with the spiritual gifts and the spiritual dating. Now I'm going to do a study called on the spiritual brain, how that development from about 17 years old to 25 years old, how crucial it is for us not to clock out as parents. Because I'm telling you right now, you need to understand that that's the most important time in our life. In fact, I'll give you a little tidbit here. On graduation services that you have every year that I do, and I've been doing quite a few around here, don't tell them you're pushing them out. Because all of a sudden they go to college, and all of a sudden because they're not ready yet, because they're not developed yet, because all of a sudden the minute they get that freedom that they think is so awesome that I had from 12 years old to 18, they're searching for somebody to shape and to mold them. Hear me out now. If you push them out into the world and you think you've done a good job and all of a sudden they're going to college, you have failed them, because Satan will jump on them and say, "Guess what? Man, you're free, you know. Try that joint for the first time. It ain't going to be that big a deal. Go ahead and drink a beer. Hey, it's okay. In the day and age, you don't have to be married." I mean, Satan does not play by a rule book. He has no strategy to set back. So guess what? He doesn't go back and forth like checkers. He doesn't go back and forth like things like life. He attacks you in the night. He attacks you in your rest. He attacks you when you all of a sudden let your guard down. He attacks you when you think your guard's up. He wants to steal and destroy your life and to take your children away from you. He wants us to be modern. He wants us to think that because we say we love them, but we don't show it, it's okay. Because we give them everything that they need, but we don't sit back and spend time with them, it's okay. I'm going to tell you, I can't make my kids rich. I can't sit back and offer them fancy things in this world, but I tell you what my kids love for me more than anything. You know what that is? Time with me. Funny thing how God will do things in your life and all of a sudden you have such a deeper appreciation for. All of a sudden I understand those seconds, Daddy, and those minutes, Daddy, and those hours are, you can't put a price tag on it. They ain't a check big enough for it, and to sit back and know that when you've been robbed of your children's time, and if God's doing that in your life, you better hope that that journey you're on is to build the kingdom, and that your child knows Jesus, and that when you're with them, it's nothing but just sweet things. You know what I'm saying? It's pure love and joy and peace and not hatred and not meanness, because God gave you a gift. It says right here in Deuteronomy 11, 18, and 19. Therefore you shall lay up these words of mine in your heart and in your soul, and bind them as signs in your hand, and these shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall teach them to your children, speaking of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. You know, I don't know about you, but as much as we sit back and try to get out of church and not having church and kind of make church sort of be short and quick and sweet, I've had this conversation everywhere I go where all of a sudden, if it was up to the church body now, they would meet for an hour one time a week on Sunday morning. And they wouldn't even think about an invitation. They want it to be all of a sudden kumbaya, love, boo, boo, all that mess, and get out the door. That's what church is headed towards right now. If we don't sit back and role model the church to the world that we love to be here. Why do we love to be here? Because we want to be equipped. We want to sit back and know God's Word and sit back and be discipled so that all of a sudden when God reveals your spiritual gift, He will put you in a situation to do great things for Him. I'm promising you that He's got an ultimate, amazing plan for your life. And if you're in denial of that, if you're sitting back and thinking, it's not my job, you are hurting your family. See, this message is about family. It may be called The Child, but it's about you, Dad, and you, Mom, and you, grandparents. It's about all of a sudden not getting so busy in the world that those times together are untouchable. That time you go home after church and have a meal together, and you sit down and you talk about each other's day, and you love on each other, that's gone away. People don't do it anymore. All of a sudden, they just take off left and right, go this way, go that way. In fact, we do an illustration, me and my family did when we're together, where I put a pizza box down there. I don't know if I said this already, but we'll all grab a piece of pizza and go to our different rooms, and that's called supper. And I remember one time I did that, and I watched that take place, and I'd been gone for a while, and all of a sudden I seen Trevor go, Kelly, Justin was on, Tara, and I just remember sitting in my kitchen going, hey, wait a minute, you know? And I just said, guess what? Everybody get back in here right now. And boy, they were like, what do you want, Daddy? And it was literally like 4 bears coming at me. And all of a sudden I said, turn the iPad off, turn your phone off, put the laptop up. And you're like, man, what are we doing? Are we in trouble? Come on, Dad. And then all of a sudden you start hearing these stupid excuses, but I want to watch this show and I want to do this. That 12 years to 18 sitting by myself in that apartment done something to me. I crave fellowship with my family. I desire to have it. I'll ride all the way tomorrow with Zelle doing I'm going to see my kids. Every time is an opportunity to make my daughter and my child, my boy, better. See, when you look at it like that, when you understand the magnitude that Satan is lining people up knee-deep to influence your children, and he will never let up. That when you get the opportunity to pour into that child, then you desire it and you crave it. I tell you right now, when Trevor's on the road and all of a sudden I hear he's got an attitude with his mom or something going on, I'm like, all right, God, I know I'm studying for this sermon now, but I need to get over here in the Bible and talk about what's going on with my boy, you know? And I call him up, I say, hey, son, by the way, and I'll just read the scripture to him. Say, look here, what do you think Jesus is saying right here? Oh, Daddy, I know. Well, then straighten up, Listen, it's our job to rear them. It's our privilege to do that. That's how the church gets filled up, because when the family's in the center of God's will, when the family's sold out to the family, and all of a sudden it gets healthy, and it starts striving and doing the good thing, then it's going to come into the church and go, guess what? We're so runneth over. We're so full. What can we do for the church now? Because we want everybody to have this feeling. We want everybody to feel love. And all of a sudden, you're contagious in a good way. I'm telling you, if you could have been in that apartment with me, at 12 I was scared, at 13 it was a little cool, at 14 I was just bewildered because I'm like, wow. And at 17 and 18 I was thinking, I'm in a race right now, and probably at the end of this race I'm going to be dead because nobody loves me. Nobody hugs me. My grandmother comes home on the weekend and she's just worn slap out and she's doing the best she can do. And I'm trying to sit back and coddle her and tell her it's going to be okay. Whew. What kind of legacy are you going to leave behind, Mom and Daddy? In a minute, we're going to end well. We're going to end big. But here's the thing. I want you to think about this in a second when we call them babies to come back in here and you get a hold of them and they're going to come in here. Some of them will be excited. Some of them will be robust. That's okay. Let them be excited. It's better than the opposite of what I was, depressed and sad. Children are a gift from God. It says right here in Mark 9:42, but whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to be a stumble, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea. Your children are a gift from God. And when you are a negative influence, or you don't point them towards the cross, or you don't influence them in the way that they desire to know more about Jesus, you're out of the will of God. And it says that, not Bart Ponder's, but when it says that you're better off, and there ain't no way you can read that to change what that is. That's saying putting something pretty heavy around your neck and letting you go on down and drown because he doesn't want you to hurt that child. Hey, daddies, mamas, that's real, you know? And when you realize that and you sit back and embrace that, then all of a sudden when you come into church, man, you're going to have some zeal about you. You're going to be excited. You're going to say, guess what? Well, before that, maybe Monday and Tuesday, can you picture this? All of a sudden, you're talking to your kids. You have this amazing relationship with them. Everything's going good, and they start talking to you about what's going on in their life, and maybe they're being picked on. Maybe they've got a test coming up, and it's struggling. Maybe all of a sudden, you've got a kid that looks like they're depressed, and you have this eagerness to come to church. And and here's the thing. You get to play a part of molding and shaping them into being something amazing. But yet we neglect it every single day. In a minute, we're going to come to a close, and I want to read you something. It says that children will perfect their parents' sins. Let's just take a second and meditate on that. Children will perfect your sins. If you sit back and you're an occasional this and you're an occasional that, if you sit back and dabble here and all of a sudden, whether it be a cigarette or a beer or whatever it might be, or a chew, or all of a sudden you get with the boys and your mouth just all of a sudden becomes nasty, and all these they watch everything. And all of a sudden, they may not do that right in front of you. All of a sudden, it may not be exposed right then. But when they get with their friends and their pal, all of a sudden, they're going to say words that are bigger than your words. If you sat there and they saw you drink a beer, they're going to sit back and experiment with the liquor. And I guarantee you, you say I'm wrong, but I'm going to tell you right now, I know how Satan works. He says, guess what? I'm going to make them perfect in my eyes. I'm going to make them where they're destroyed, they're going to be destroying others, and they're going to be no good to the church. Let me tell you something. This is a call to God from you to sit back and from this day forward be the best parent that you could ever be. To sit back and understand those gifts, and the men are going to come in here. In fact, where's my lady at? It's going to send a text for me. She's going to go get them. All right. Tell them to bring them on in here. It says right here that whatever causes your child to sin, you need to deal with it. Here's my last story, and then we're going to close. I had an 8th grader at Dalton Middle School. He came home with his one day, and he came walking in the house, and he went by his daddy, and he said, "Daddy, can you come in the room with me for a second? I need to talk to you." Daddy said, "I'll be up there in a minute," and he's sitting on his phone. He's carrying on with his phone on the couch, and the boy goes up in his room, and all of a sudden the boy texts down to his dad and says, "Hey, Daddy, I need you to come up here and talk to me." Daddy texts back and says, "Son, give me a minute. I'll be up there in a second. I'm in the middle of something." A few minutes went by. All of a sudden, that boy said, "Daddy, are you not going to come up here and talk to me?" And about 10 seconds later, he heard the gun go off. And that young man took his life, and I had to do his funeral. Daddies, knock the cobwebs out of your head. Put down the fishing rod in the golf club if your kids are not playing with you. Mamas, don't sit there and spend so much time on getting ready and so much worrying about things of the world that you don't pour some quality time into those young ladies and boys. Give them that moral backbone to stand strong. Suicide's on a rampant right now. Prescription drugs are just taking over. On your watch, knock the cobwebs out of your head. Because being a parent is one of the greatest things that you'll ever do in your life. I promise you. And because of that, because God found me and renewed my strength and done something in my life, now I get to be the parent that I want to be. In a minute, your children are going to come towards you right now, and they're going to sit back and they're going to get with you in a minute, and we're going to have an invitation like we've never had one before. Right now, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to look into the eyes of your children. I just want you to take a second. I want you to sit back and grab them and look at them. They're such a beautiful sight. And in a minute, I'm going to give you a chance to come to this altar as a family. And I want you to kneel down with that child. And I want you to talk. It's going to be noisy. I love this sermon. It's going to be noisy. I want you to talk to your kids at the altar. There's going to be room up here, room up here. I want you, the first part is not to start praying. It's to talk to him. It's to say, hey, Mr. Bart's asked us, and what do you got any things on your heart do you want to pray about? And just talk to them for a second or two. And just sit back and just have that feeling of being at that altar and kneeling down and talking to you and pouring into your child's life. And, men are more successful when they learn how to kneel down. They really are. Sometimes a man thinks the higher he stands, the better he is. But I'm going to tell you, when you get a man to kneel down and to pray and to seek God with his children, you've got a man. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I think in my heart. So here's the thing. Bow your heads.